Good evening, and welcome to our deep dive into what might be one of the most polarizing superhero show finales of recent years. Peacemaker Season 2 has officially wrapped up with its 58-minute finale, titled Full Nelson. And while it promised to make the world better, the question many fans are asking tonight is whether it actually did. After weeks of explosive fights, heavy emotional moments, and James Gunn's trademark blend of humor and heart, this season finale lands with both a bang and a whimper. The energy, the chaos, and the oddball sincerity that made this show a standout in its first season all return, but not all of it hits the mark. In many ways, this finale feels like watching fireworks through a foggy window. Bright, loud, occasionally beautiful, yet somehow just out of focus. The season that began with swagger and promise ends in a reflective, uncertain tone, leaving fans both satisfied and scratching their heads in equal measure. Let's start with what does work, and it's impossible not to begin with John Cena and Jennifer Holland. Cena's performance as Chris Smith, the Peacemaker himself, remains the heart and muscle of this story. His evolution from a macho, broken soldier to a man struggling to define morality on his own terms continues to be compelling. And Holland's Amelia Harcourt, she matches him beat for beat, bringing a quiet strength that grounds even the most absurd moments. Their relationship arc, hinted at since Season 1, finally finds closure here, or at least a moment of clarity. The long-awaited night on the boat flashback delivers more emotional punch than any of the show's explosions. Gunn masterfully reframes that drunken night not as a meaningless hookup, but as a shared moment of vulnerability. It's not about lust. It's about connection. A quick kiss, a fleeting spark, and the realization that sometimes the smallest gestures carry the heaviest emotional weight. That scene, set to the nostalgic sounds of Nelson's early 90s rock, is classic James Gunn, a music-infused moment that manages to turn pop culture kitsch into emotional poetry. It's silly and sincere all at once, the kind of tonal balancing act Gunn excels at. And it makes sense that this sequence becomes the emotional core of the finale. It's the moment that defines not only Harcourt and Peacemaker's bond, but also Gunn's whole thesis for the series, finding beauty in brokenness. The episode even circles back to this idea later, when Harcourt stops herself from beating up a random guy outside Big Belly Burger after Peacemaker urges her to look at the moon and stars. It's an absurdly simple line, but it works. The Peacemaker of old wouldn't have said it. He's grown, even if that growth feels fragile. Harcourt sees it too, and for a show that began as a loud, irreverent spin-off, this quiet maturity feels almost shocking. But then, just when the emotional momentum feels steady, the rest of the story starts to wobble. Frank Grillo's Rick Flag Sr., a character who could have anchored a complex moral counterpoint, ends up tangled in unclear motivations. Is he a villain, a misguided hero, or just another cog in Gunn's growing DC machine? The finale paints him as all three, and yet somehow none convincingly. His plan to lock away metahumans on an extra-dimensional prison planet. A nod to Salvation from the comics sounds intriguing on paper, but in execution, it feels rushed and disconnected. One moment, he's a hardened tactician. The next, he's cracking drinks with Lex Luthor's old team. The tonal inconsistency leaves viewers unsure whether to fear him or feel sorry for him. It's not Grillo's fault. His performance is sharp as ever, but the writing around him feels stretched thin, as if the show tried to set up too many puzzle pieces without showing us the picture on the box. The finale also stumbles when it comes to its secondary characters. Danielle Brooks's Leota Adebayo, so crucial to the show's emotional backbone in Season 1, feels oddly sidelined this time. Her marriage troubles and her complicated relationship with her career are touched upon, but not explored. When she finally reconnects with her wife Kia in a tender scene, it's sweet but underdeveloped, a moment that could have soared if given more time. Freddie Stroma's Vigilante, ever the wild card, provides comic relief as always, but the joke's starting to wear thin. And Steve Agee's Economos. He's still the lovable tech nerd, but again, mostly relegated to background reactions. It's as though the finale decided that the supporting cast existed only to orbit around Peacemaker's emotional journey, which, while understandable, makes the ensemble feel hollow compared to the vibrant team dynamic that made Season 1 shine. Yet amid the uneven storytelling, there are glimmers of the show's brilliance. The sequence featuring Foxy Shazam performing the season's theme song on the rock cruise is a deliriously fun callback that captures the show's playful energy. As the band belts out their glam rock anthem, the montage crosscuts with the team forming Checkmate, their new secret organization. It's both a wink to comic book fans and a setup for the larger DC narrative Gunn is clearly constructing. Still, the jump from band reunion to spy network feels abrupt. There's an emotional disconnect between the scenes of laughter and the sudden decision to form a covert ops group. But the intent is clear. Gunn wants to expand the Peacemaker world into a broader superhero espionage saga, one that can intersect with his upcoming film, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. It's ambitious, maybe even too ambitious for a single hour of television. And speaking of ambition, let's address the elephant not in the room, the missing Nazi world subplot. Remember that bizarre alternate world storyline teased earlier in the season? It vanishes entirely here, unresolved and unexplained. Likewise, the absence of David Denman's Keith Smith feels glaring, considering how heavily the series hinted at his importance. These loose threads make Full Nelson feel less like a grand conclusion and more like a mid-season finale. The episode also lacks the kind of explosive action scene fans expect from a Peacemaker climax. Instead, it opts for something quieter. Chris stranded by Rick Flag Sr. on the alien prison planet, Salvation. It's a bold narrative move, ending not with a fight, but with isolation. The final image of Peacemaker, alone, battered, and wearing a tattered Foxy Shazam shirt, staring at two moons in the alien sky, might just be the most haunting visual Gunn has ever crafted for television. In the end, Peacemaker Season 2 closes not with triumph, but with uncertainty. It's an uneven, messy, yet strangely heartfelt finale that captures both the best and worst of James Gunn's storytelling instincts. On one hand, it delivers raw, emotional truth between two broken people learning how to care again. On the other, it fumbles its broader world building, leaving too many dangling threads for its own good. But perhaps that's fitting for a show about a man trying to do good in a world that keeps moving the goalposts. As Chris Smith looks up at those alien stars, alone, but still believing in miracles, the audience is left to wonder, maybe making the world better isn't about winning battles or saving planets. Maybe it's about small acts of connection, the moments of grace between chaos. And if that's where Peacemaker is headed next, then even after a flawed finale, it's a journey worth following.